Aloha and good afternoon. My name is Jürgen Steinmetz. I'm joining you from livestream.travel in Honolulu. And with me is Paul Rogers. He's joining us from Australia, from Sydney, I believe. And he's a happy man. He's in the happy tourism business. Welcome, Paul, to our show.
Thanks very much, Jürgen. Thank you. I'm not in Sydney. I'm in a small place called Lennox Head, just south of Byron Bay in northern New South Wales. But yeah, great to be with you. Thanks for this.
Oh yeah, no, great. Now everyone, when you think about Australia, I guess you think Sydney first,
Sydney
but
or Brisbane.
Yeah, but you're quite a bit larger country than Sydney. I understand this, and I've been there. I mean, you fly. It's like going from coast to coast in the U.S. You go from Sydney to Perth, so quite some distances in your countries.
For sure.
But tell us a little bit more. Why you're the happy man in tourism?
Okay, thanks. Well, by way of an introduction, I started engaging in tourism following a trip up to the Mount Everest National Park as a backpacker 30 years ago. And, it was a life-changing moment. And I just wanted to go back and spend more time in the mountains. And one thing led to another, and I ended up doing a PhD on what is ecotourism, and is the Everest region an example of ecotourism. And such a remote part of the planet, or what was a remote part of the planet, tourism has transformed this destination, providing some of the best healthcare in the country, rural healthcare, some of the best rural education, and the local community are thoroughly integrated in all aspects of tourism development, of resource management. They manage the positive and negative impacts of tourism incredibly well. It's actually one of the best the best examples of tourism development I've ever seen. And so, 2 years ago, I revisited this area and was really taken aback by just how successful that model of tourism has become. And over the last 15 or so years, I've had the great pleasure to work in Bhutan, assisting them with their tourism planning. And they introduced me to as they do everybody else, the concept of gross national happiness. And so over the years, I've taken a great interest in this happiness agenda. I was very fortunate in 2011, 2012 to be invited to what was billed as a high-level meeting on happiness and well-being at the UN in New York, where I met thought leaders, change makers in the happiness and well-being agenda. And so, I've always been drawn to that. And a couple of years ago, we came up with this concept of Planet Happiness to bring what we might call the Bhutan approach to destination planning and management.
Wow, an interesting part. So what do you guys do? It's obviously you're a service business, and you're bringing something to the industry. What the industry probably desperately need right now is some positive outlook. So tell us a little bit more, maybe, what are you doing? How do you benefit the industry?
Okay, so we've set Planet Happiness up as a project of a not-for-profit registered in the US, in Seattle. Mm-hmm. My colleague and co-founder, Laura Musikansky, she's the executive director of the Happiness Alliance, which has been for 10 years providing tools and resources to communities, governments, businesses on this happiness agenda. And the backbone of our Planet Happiness approach really revolves around a tool she developed from looking at the way Bhutan subjectively measures happiness and well-being. So we have what is called the Happiness Index Survey. It's an online survey that measures your happiness in about 10 or 15 minutes. You answer about 50 questions across what we call domains, 11 domains: trust in government, satisfaction with the environment, mental health, physical health, sense of community. There are these 11 domains, And at the end of your 15 minutes of taking the survey, you get a one-page scorecard, which gives you your personal score compared to everybody else that has taken the survey across these 11 domains. And so that makes you think, oh, wow, you know, how happy am I compared to everybody else? Why don't you take it and I'll compare my scores with your score? And it sparks conversations about what we mean by well-being and how it can be measured. And it occurred to me as a destination planner for the last 20 years that if we were to deploy the survey in tourism destinations, then we can get a happiness score for the host community. And 2 years ago, we were in a very different situation than we are today. And the issue of over tourism was being, you know, talked about all over the place and was becoming increasingly relevant to different destinations. And being a tourism planner and listening to conversations around the over tourism agenda, I think the one thing that everybody would agree is that if you want to address issues of over tourism, you need to engage the host community. And so what we have with our approach is a method to focus the attention of all stakeholders on what is meant by well-being and destination well-being, and how to come up with interventions that will address the deficient domain areas in that one-page scorecard. If you can see what I mean.
Interesting. So it's and now you're talking about, of course, over tourism. You said is no longer really an issue for any destination. And so how do you adopt? How is your concept going to work with the current situation?
Yeah, well, I think we all know that tourism is going to, you know, come back to a place. Well, everybody wants us to build back better, right? And so what we do with our happiness index for destinations is engage with residents, is engage with the host community. And so by illustrating, by showing people these one-page destination scorecards and looking where the areas are deficient, we can look to see what the community is recommending for interventions that are needed to strengthen destination well-being. And for any destination to recover at the moment, it needs to focus on the quality of life, on the well-being of the residents. And this is exactly what we're about. And recovery, as WTTC have also illustrated, and many others, is about building trust and cooperation and partnership among the stakeholders. So I think by focusing on individual, community, destination well-being issues and building synergies and partnerships with the different partners, with the different stakeholders, to identify what interventions, what actions are needed to support well-being, tourism recovery, then storylines will emerge from this, which can support destinations to recover from the crisis that the pandemic has brought about. By a destination focusing on promoting the health and well-being, the quality of life for local people, using storylines in the media to illustrate how it's doing that, is going to build trust for visitors and potential visitors to return to those destinations.
So when you look at our destination here in Hawaii, for example, we really have been hit tremendously by the COVID situation. In March, I think March 17th was the day when our government closed the state for tourism. So people who wanted to come here had to stay 2 weeks in a hotel room, but of course, realistically, no tourists would do. Now on Thursday, in 2 days from now, we're reopening after 7 months of lockdown. People are depressed. Today, the CEO of the Hawaii Tourism Authority compared Hawaii compared to Hawaii that we are in a free fall when it comes to tourism and economy. Can your system somehow help to get both, and in this case, I mean the local stakeholders in the industry that are frustrated Many of them are out of a job. They don't know if this job is coming back. Stores are closed. Hotels are running with 5 or 10% capacity. So how can you show a positive well-being, and how can you implement this for a destination like Hawaii, for example?
Yeah. Well, it's interesting that you mentioned Hawaii, Jurgen, because I saw in the media just a couple of days ago that in terms of their tourism planning, they're intending to reach out to the host community, to engage them on tourism-related issues. Um, Now, we all know as well that tourism has been one of the world's largest employers, and through the collapse that has come about as a result of the pandemic, you know, something like 100 million jobs have been lost. And so a lot of employees in the sector will be wanting to find new income earning opportunities, and will be wanting to win those tourists back. They'll want their destinations to recover, to get back the employment and the income that they've lost. And so, as I've said, um, what our approach does is engage host communities in tourism related issues, in well-being related issues, and it sparks conversations and dialogue across all elements of the sector, to bring about the synergies that are needed to win back tourism and to build back better, as everybody has been describing. I do believe that our process can also help to innovate in terms of product development, in terms of connecting visitors with local residents for intimate knowledge and experiences of the destination, with the innovation that is coming about through the internet, through different supply chain channels. I think we're in a good position to support this regeneration of the industry and dialogues to build back more responsibly, more sustainably, to deliver benefits to the host communities, rather than the large businesses, and watch a large percentage of the revenue leaking out to bank accounts that might be in the Seychelles or offshore
Right.
places. We're focused on giving communities the resources, to build back, to get benefits as individuals, as small businesses, and so on.
So how would you do this? Like you would be hired by a tourism board, for example. They would invite you to their destination. You analyze what to do, and then you come up with a plan. Or how do you guys work? Or you do this remotely?
Yeah, we have a 10-step process, and our approach is focused upon building the capacity of local institutions, be it a DMO, or be it a university department, for example. But essentially, the best process is to partner with a DMO, raise awareness of a project management team within the DMO. We sign a one-page or a 1.5-page simple MOU that explains the responsibilities of both parties. We then do some more detailed training of that core team and support them to develop a deployment strategy for the survey. It can be done online by working with the sector's stakeholders. Strategies can be developed to distribute the survey through social media and traditional media, to start the process off. Also, I should say a fourth step before deploying the survey, it makes sense to reach out and engage the host community, let them know that this process is about to happen, so that when they come across the survey, they are more likely to take it. So then the survey is deployed, a result comes in. We have this one-page scorecard, which sparks conversations, as I've said. Behind that, it is a big data process. So we can develop more detailed reports in partnership with that DMO, looking at the relationship of tourism and well-being in the community, and working out what issues to bring out in community meetings, through reports, through presentations, to get the suggestions and recommendations from communities as to what is needed to build back the tourism sector. So once those recommendations come in, then the intervention is implemented, the actions, whatever they may be, and then maybe a year later, we redeploy the survey to measure the success of that strategy and redesign it for the next 12 months.
Okay, so you would, in this case, if Hawaii was interested in your project, you would physically come here, right? And take a
I would
look at
love
it.
to. I would love to come to Hawaii, Jürgen. Yes, I've never been before. I'd be very happy to come over and
Okay,
and support the process. However, if that's not possible, you know, we can deliver the training, the resources
okay,
remotely, the training remotely, and it can all be managed from within the destination without us being there.
okay. That's quite an interesting approach and very different from anything else out there. And I would assume there could be quite a need right now with everyone rebuilding this industry from scratch, pretty much, because it's not going to be the same way it was, no matter where you look, right?
I totally agree. Yeah. And I think what we have is a very refreshing and forward looking approach. The happiness agenda aligns with the sustainable UN sustainable development goals. All the domains line up with the different goals. Yeah, you look at enlightened governments around the world, you know, not just Bhutan with this agenda, but Iceland, the United Arab Emirates. They host a global dialogue on happiness at their World Government Summit every year that we're invited to. New Zealand, all the European member states are involved in some form of happiness measurement and policy prescription. And what we have is an approach that engages, as I say, hosts communities. As part of that approach, it raises awareness of what is happening at this higher government level to bring in happiness policies from a top-down approach. And what we're doing is creating traction at the grassroots level to accelerate that take-up of well-being policies.
I mean, the World Travel, yeah, the World Travel and Tourism Council last week announced a huge cooperation with the G20 and the G20 meeting in Saudi Arabia later this year, what is, I guess, bankrolled also by the King of Saudi Arabia, and a global approach supported by all stakeholders. Would happiness, could happiness be part of it? Is this WTTC someone you reached out to or you're planning to reach out to?
We are in ongoing conversations with colleagues at WTTC regarding our approach. And so I would say anything is possible, Jürgen. One of the challenges we have with our approach is that, you know, still today, most people are not familiar with this happiness and well-being agenda. I've been to numerous conferences around the world where I talk to corporates or government leaders, and you know, everyone is fascinated by, well, what do you mean by happiness and well-being? How can we measure it? But trying to encourage the depth of knowledge to give confidence to support this process moving forward takes a little bit of time. It takes people, you know, it's going to take them a little bit of time to understand that this is more than just about, oh, I'm happy. Oh, what is happiness? Isn't that a transient state? You know, the answer is no, it's not. This is a recognized best practice approach to measuring the quality of life. But the knowledge among different stakeholders of this agenda is still, you know, a little bit thin at the moment. And so I do believe that moving forward with agendas that you've just said in Saudi Arabia or the UAE, as knowledge of well-being becomes more substantive, then our approach will get more and more traction moving forward. We're only going to grow.
And if anyone wanted to talk to you and find out more what you're doing, how would they do this? You have a website? I assume you have a website.
we have the Planet Happiness website. It's not planethappiness.org. It's actually called Our Heritage, ourhappiness.org. But if you search on Google, you can find us very easily. There is a 1.5-minute video on the homepage which explains our COVID recovery benefits. There are more in-depth videos, and of course, you can contact us very easily through the website.
Okay, we'll definitely be linking it from our podcast posting as well. And Paul, is anything else you think what is worthwhile for our listeners to know about?
You caught me a little bit unprepared there, Jürgen. I think I already mentioned the great place to live is a great place to visit adage, right? And we're fully supportive of that approach, if you like. We've recently signed an agreement with a wonderful media opportunity called A Taste of Happiness by some colleagues in Europe that have been responsible for producing MasterChef and various other food culinary programs. And so the emphasis of A Taste of Happiness is to identify local food heroes, the growers, the producers of food at the destination level, and talk about organic, regenerative agriculture, food production, artisanal food, which all contributes towards the destination branding. The video programs will integrate information about this well-being agenda. So that's another element that we can bring to the destination recovery process to celebrate, the food, the landscapes of destinations. We did a great video recently with Randy Durbin from the CEO of the Global Sustainable Tourism Council, looking at the relationship we have with the GSTC criteria. So that will be available for people soon. So yeah, we look forward to sharing stories and supporting destinations with their recovery wherever they may be. We also, I could just quickly mention, over the last 20 years as a tourism planner, I've met so many destination planners that are also quite taken with our approach. And so we have a number of consultants that are keen to work with us to support destinations with this capacity building process that is needed to kickstart the rollout of our approach.
Wonderful. Well, that was a lot of information. I would encourage for people to go to your website, and we will link it, and to find out more. But hopefully we can hear more from you as things are progressing. And I hope you're safe wherever you are, and you're happy wherever you are. And we can catch up with you again very soon.
That's fantastic. Thanks very much, Jürgen. Yeah, I'm happy enough here in Australia for the time being, but like everybody else, I'd be very keen to start traveling again, which is what I've been doing for the last 20 years with this work. And I have a lot of contracts, particularly in Asia, to fulfill. So yeah, I really hope that we can all start progressing and getting back to normal step by step in the months and years ahead.
I can second that 100%. Okay, you have a nice evening, nice afternoon, and we talk to you soon.
Thank you so much, Jürgen. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul.
Great.